Hi Marcus, good to see you.
Steve, how are we doing?
Pleasant setting.
Well, we are in sunny Silverstone for a change. Less than a few weeks ago, we were in the bloody rain. Well, you were, I believe, on the Sunday.
Yeah, I was getting soaking wet, but
And the noises behind us are a little bit louder than the F1 cars. But hey, yeah, that adds the character to today, doesn't it, I guess?
yeah, and I think very upsetting, to be honest with you. Home of British motorsport, and more importantly, home of Silverstone Composites over the road. So that's what we're here to talk about. So tell us about your journey. Now, I'm fortunate enough to know you for several years now, but I think it's a really powerful story as to how you got to be an MD of your own business. So tell us a little bit more about that background.
Yeah, so background, born and bred Silverstone. I was here with my father growing up as a kid. He was a mechanic and engineer on site and built some incredible cars over the years, and I've got to see this place turn into what it is. Would I have thought I'd have my own business here 9 years ago, let alone when I finished school? Absolutely not. But I left school at 16 knowing I'd go into motorsport and hopefully build race cars. That was my dream. And yeah, we've sort of got to that point where it's been an incredible journey. We're sort of 9 years as we've taken the business from zero to what it is now. And it's been an incredible journey.
Now, your pathway to there was kind of the classic one that you were working for somebody else, and that's how a lot of these things pan out. So while you were working for other companies, what was your real driving force to actually take, it was effectively a leap of faith. It's a huge leap of faith to walk away from, from a salary and employment to actually going out there and doing your own thing. So what was the motivation behind that, and how did you actually achieve that?
Yeah, so I left school 16, went straight into the industry, which is composites. I was fortunate to find a company in Brackley called Crosby Composites, and they were the ones who gave me the training that I required to be a composite technician, and that is to manufacture parts from start to finish using their processes. And at that point, we were making parts for Formula One teams, so I was learning the very pinnacle of the best manufacturing methods in the UK. And I then was working within those companies, but just felt I was a number. I wasn't sort of respected. So I thought, well, let's give it some choices. Let's go and explore the market and go and work for other suppliers within industry, doing very similar things,
Yep.
but supplying into the industry. So I did that. And what I learned was everybody was just copy and paste of each other. There was no differentiate. There was no things doing differently. It was paid hourly, overworked, under really, really critical deadlines, couldn't make errors, and I just didn't feel comfortable with that because this industry is so heavily involved with people.
Yep.
So I thought when I was about 21-ish, I went, I wonder if I could do this for myself. Could I start and build something, but could I do it better? And could it be about the people? And yeah, I did 3 or 4 years of really intense learning how people are employed, how they got their customers on board, what work commitments they were lined up, their order book, their financials, pretty much everything relating to business, their structures, I tried to learn within a 4-year period, and then develop that aspect for myself to be able to start my own entity up when I was about 25.
And again, that's a fantastic way to go about it. You're kind of learning on the job, but you're building that knowledge. But to set a company up, it still takes money, time, effort. Tell us a bit about that and how that panned out.
Yeah, so what I realised very early on, you can't do this alone. You can be the person that takes the leap of faith, has the idea, has the sort of the inspiration to do it, but you need a good amount of people around you to do this. I was very fortunate to find an angel investor who invested the money, not necessarily in the business, but more in, he was very valued towards me. He felt that what I was saying was true, and he could see that there was good potential behind it. I reached out to my supply chain already before I started my business to make sure that they would support me in my early months of business. I had a good sort of business network around me. It was only small at that point, but enough people to get me through. And then I had a good bunch of customers already. So I built my network within Formula One. with engineers and sort of buyers. And then I'd ingrained the trust that if I did this on my own, they would then supply me the work. I'm very fortunate. When we first started, we had a couple of teams supplying us work straight away.
And I think to me, that's always that. I've been very fortunate. You know, part of the reason that we met is I've always had a passion to get underneath the skin of businesses and understand their journey. Now, you are working at the pinnacle of motorsport. It's Formula One, and I know you love motorsport, so you've got that passion anyway. But you know, from the outside looking into Formula One, it seems very sort of locked down. You know, you've got the big teams, and like, you know, people look at the cars racing around the track like we were here a couple of weekends ago. But you know, that's how challenging is it to actually get into that supply chain? Now, I know you achieved it, but surely there's a huge amount of pressure that comes with that, actually being a supplier into, was it 6 teams I think you supply into?
Yeah, so because I'd started my journey there, I guess it was the norm to me. So I was very fortunate to work, I don't know, 3 of the 4 of the F1 teams with other companies. There probably wasn't an F1 team I hadn't worked on when I worked for technically all of my competitors. So, and every again was very translatable, different materials, different methods, but everything was very similar. So I learned a lot. So I had that confidence in myself, but equally some of the team that I brought on early stages that we could do it, we could deliver it. So the teams just, once you've got your first purchase order, you make those parts, you deliver on time at a good competitive price, that just unlocks your doors. And that is F1 how it sort of reacts. But equally, if you cock up, you make mistakes, and you don't deliver on time, and you overcharge, they'll drop you as soon as a hat. There is no contracts in motorsport. No. It is purely based off trust, quality and reassurance that you can do that job over and over again to high standards. And F1 teams will naturally grow your business.
But also, again, from having conversations with you in the past, you've actually come at this with a slightly different angle in regards to how you work with them. Yeah. Can you explain a bit more about that?
Yeah, so we always thought we'd be, at the start of early days, was a build-to-print manufacturer. They give us the materials, they give us the mould, they give us all the ideas, and we'll make their parts for them. So just technically like a labourer into F1. We then slowly learned that we were actually, I wouldn't say better, but we wanted to be more responsible to our customers and say, well, how about if we did things differently, or how if we offered feedback at quoting stage? We've noticed this design of part, could we actually feedback you some information before you release it to us, so we can make your part better, make it more cost effective, and make it quicker because of X, Y, and Z. And they started to listen, take it on board, and now we've become a full single source solution. So we can take a pen and paper idea and give you that full solution from start to finish, using the best technologies, best materials, the best manufacturing staff, not being biased, but equally the best solutions to every customer. That would be motorsport or the other sectors, which we haven't touched on.
Yeah, that's a very good lead into that, because look, you've just made a big investment, and that big investment is you just moved to a larger unit on site. So look, you've built that off of the background of those relationships within Formula One. But again, you know, we've had the conversations in the past that, you know, there's a lot of a diversification into other sectors and other markets. So what are the key ones that you see that once you've kind of, you know, you've made a big commitment, a huge investment into the new premises, I'm sure you'll have a bedding in period, but how do you see the business progressing once that's sort of settled down, and the kind of other sectors that you're really keen to get into?
Yeah, so I guess in working for the pinnacle of this industry, carbon fibre composites was introduced into the world through Formula One back in the early days with McLaren. That then enabled transition for other markets to go, well, what is this material? And for early stages, it cost way too much money to even entertain it into other sectors. But as we started producing more and the usage went up, then other sectors opened their doors. So initially they went from aerospace, then it went into sort of defence and things like that. For us personally, some of the exciting sectors right now where we can use that skill set from motorsport into those sectors would be like space.
Okay.
Incredible industry right now, especially in the UK. There's a big push on it. And again, it's huge, massive something going in one direction. So you need to shift as much weight as possible.
Yep.
Carbon fibre, big tick in the box for that. And in defence, it's a huge sector right now in the UK. Unnervy times, but equally to be able to support UK military with their fight towards anything, their defences, is a big tick in our box, and that will just help fill us our pockets of capacity.
Yeah.
F1 can be quite seasonal sometimes.
Yeah.
This year it won't be, it's going to be quite demanding, but I think we definitely as a business and we're going to grow our opportunities, and those sectors are where we're going to target.
Okay. Now listen, so look, you're the founder, the MD, you know, essentially the driving force behind the business, but you can only do that with good staff. Okay, so tell me a bit about, you know, how do you recruit people? Because it's all I hear time and time again. It doesn't matter what sector you're actually in, it's very difficult to recruit. You're talking about high, you know, advanced engineering here at the end of the day. So talk a bit about how you've managed to grow the team, and actually more important, which I think is a real credit to you as a business owner, and you touched on it early when you said about, look, I was working for companies and I didn't quite like the way they're operating. So also that culture element part, which I think is really important as well.
Yeah, I think that was probably one of my biggest leading factors of growing and starting a business, was about people. Manufacturing is so heavily invested with hands on the shop floor making these parts, especially our industry. So we have to create an incredible environment to work in, because it's not a very nice environment, some places I've worked. So really nice environment where they can work in. Create a team aspect working, so create a culture where people want to help each other and support each other, making parts or doing accounts or doing whatever.
Yeah.
Just make sure everybody's on the same page and on the same path of what is our key factor here, is that we want to grow and develop a business, make it really good at what we do, deliver good parts, but have a good time doing it. That's me. I like having a good time in life in general.
Yeah.
So if you can do that at work, which you're there most of the time, why wouldn't you do that? And that's what we've created. But not just from me, is once I brought members on board, is then that knowledge is shared. We continue to share that knowledge through our peers, so everybody's on the same page.
I must admit, I did panic a bit when I spoke to you the other day, and you're on your way as a team event doing axe throwing. I wasn't quite sure whether that was not quite sure how the risk assessment was done on that. Anyway, that aside, listen, I again know from knowing you that you are a big investor in the schools program that's going on around here.
Yeah.
And again, that goes back to that understanding what the challenge is as a business owner. So tell us a bit more about that schools program and how you got involved in that.
Yeah, Steve, you know, we go to many networking events, and the biggest challenge we always hear is people.
Yeah.
Is your biggest resource. But what I find frustrating, and when we go to all these conversations and talks, is nobody talks about the solution.
Yeah.
It's just the problem. And me being an engineer and a solutions provider, and I love sort of solving problems, we took it upon ourselves as a business to go, well, what do we need to do to get people to come and work for us, or at least engage to understand the culture of our business, why we do things, how we do it, and what keeps that staff retention and people coming. So we realised the younger generation didn't even know we were here until we started the schools program initiative, which is fantastic what Silverstone Park have done. Like, we've been this big supporter from very, very early on, and that is to get youngsters engaged from very early ages to understand what their future looks like. So either we'll do school talks, and not just me, my team will go in and do talks now and get the engagement because they're younger than me, to inspire the next generation, or equally we'll have schools that will come to us.
And that's the one that stands out to me, because I actually remember seeing it on the local news, and I think you had one of the local girls' schools come in. Now, I've got a young daughter, and I was very fortunate that a few years ago now that she attended a couple of the Dare to be Different, which is now the FIA Girls on Track. And I do recall the news article, and there was a couple of that actually come to your unit.
Yep.
Which they were buzzing. And I think that's what it's about. And credit to you, because again, going to your unit and your factory, you know, it's a very diverse workforce you've got in there as well. So fair play to you for what you're doing on that. And hopefully, like you say, if you can encourage these youngsters to get involved, because they're not going to find about it in the classrooms, are they, at the end of the day? Okay, so growth trajectory now.
Yes.
Again, knowing you, and you've been very honest that there were some challenges in that 9 years, okay?
Yeah.
But you've always been that person that's prepared to sit around the table and talk to people. So, you know, in the last few years, you know, who's some of the key people that you've been engaged with to sort of help you through this next phase of the journey?
Yeah, well, it was probably 4 years ago, I think. You and I sat around a table and I called you in for a meeting and said, look, Steve, we're we're not sure what to do next with the business. And it was the fact that we got to the goal a lot quicker than anticipated. And what did next look like? And for me, I had no idea. And I had always set goals and wanted to achieve them. But I was pondering for a good year or two and going, what? I don't know what is next. And you kindly sat us down with some other business owners that have been in that similar position, brought some professionals in the room, and we started just having an open discussion. And it's led us to this point of me now realising what that next step for me is. And for me personally, and for the business, I think eventually we want to grow to sell it within a certain period. And how we're going to do that is have people support us through that. And I think we've got to a new stage that, again, this meeting is critical, is that we are now got the best people that's joined us, and fortunately that's TC Group. And it's part of yourself and the discussions we've had over the years, is that they're going to hopefully, and I think they will do already, we're seeing differences. It's only been, 3 or 4 months already that the team from TC are supporting us and helping us understand the business better from a financial aspect, but equally helping us, such a process-driven business already ourselves, that TC are helping us improve even more processes and get us ready for those next steps.
Yeah, and again, it's easy to sort of say to people, or understand the journey as to where you've got to that moment in time. But again, I think to have that sort of understanding as to where you want to go. Now, again, you didn't have that 3 or 4 years ago, but you were very honest about it, and there were a lot of challenges at the time. And I think the other thing that's really important as well is you understand that not only engaging with the networks and professional community, but you also understand that not one size fits all. So, whether the business is actually sold, whether that's an external party, or the other one I know you're very passionate about, again, it goes back to the culture and the staff. The other part of that journey might be that, it might get passed on to the staff.
Yeah.
So, again, that comes back to you as that individual where you invest in the people. And you can see that when you go around there. So we touched on the fact that, new challenges, new premises, and look, you've made the choice to come over and join us at TC Group. You've already worked with the property team.
Yep.
Regards to the new unit. How do you see that relationship with TC Group growing over the coming weeks and months? And also, more importantly, the other sort of like networks and professional communities that are out there?
So I'm going to do the personal bit first.
Okay.
Because as always me, is what thing I've loved about TC Group is just an extension of our family. That's what I feel, is that when we're at Silverstone Composites, it's like a family. We're all there for each other and to support each other. And what I've found from TC Group, looking from outside looking in, is that is the same sort of the outset. It's the culture. It's about the people. We've met Patrick, Stephen, all those guys. So many of the team I've met, they're all so lovely and kind and just want to help and support. And I think that's so critical in any business, that you have that within your team. But how good is it to have an extension out of another company that's going to support you on your next journey through growth, that's got a similar drive factor, that want not only them to be successful as their business owners, but equally everybody else to be part of that journey?
Yeah, and again, look, I'm fortunate enough to know you for many years now, but and there's still a leap of faith in there at the end of the day. But you're right. I think what I could see that the journey you're on, the challenges you've got, and the culture you've got, it is very much aligned with the TC Group. And and the other thing is, it is about individuals.
Yeah.
It's never about one person. And I think that's really important, that those relationships that you build are sort of multi-level within organisations. So, it's quite deliberate that me personally, to get you to meet you, other people within our team is really important. And that is also really important, that they meet other people within your team.
Yeah.
So, Lisa, for argument's sake, the relationship between Lisa and Lauren is fantastic.
Yeah.
But, and that hopefully then gives you that ability, I guess, to sort of like get your head down and do what you need to do around the sort of the growth, the strategy, etc., etc.
Yeah, and that's the key to collaboration, is that we've got to help each other. The importance behind that is so critical for any business. Like any business owner that thinks they can do it on their own, it's utter rubbish. You have to have a good network around you of people. That would be professionals, that would be just friends, or even loved ones. You have to have all those things in aligned to be able to do your day job. If you can't, then you're going to struggle. And equally, I hate this saying, but a problem shared is a problem solved.
Yeah.
So if you can do that in any aspect of your life, it makes your life a hell of a lot easier, because I'm specialist in what I do. I don't want to understand the facts and figures of my business unless they're good. So I want the people in the background, like TC and my law firm like EMW and all those guys that have supported me on my journey to now, to go, yeah, you're still doing a good job. Fantastic. That's all I need to hear.
I think the other thing, we've spoken about it a couple of times, and even goes back to before you even set the company up, is this whole kind of concept of networking, and also I guess that kind of ecosystem that exists. Now I know that yourself and James set up the High Performance Coffee Club.
Correct.
Now to me that was a fantastic concept where there was nothing pretentious about it. It was just to get like-minded business owners together in a room. But tell us a bit more about yours and James's sort of, I'll probably ruin it now by saying what it's about, really. But yeah, tell us the concept behind it.
No, it was good. It was James and I, funny enough, we sat down and we're actually genuinely having a cup of coffee sat on the sofa and said, God, we've done more business within 20 minutes, like back and forth, having conversations, than we could ever done through email or Teams meeting. And there was clearly, James and I had recognised that there was a problem with what happened during COVID, that society had got so comfortable with technology and Teams, they forgot how to do business properly. And in my eyes, business is the best way to do things. And I like to think most people is face to face. But I feel that there was, I don't know, everybody was holding back, or they were scared to go back into the social environments, because it was an unnervy time for everybody to go from the day to day to lockdown for 3 or 4 months, then to be slowly back introduced to it. I think it was scared. Whereas James and I, as you know, we're so bullish and so forwards, and we wanted to create an environment where people could feel safe. Also, I thought COVID had a huge mental impact on people. So people couldn't leave their offices because they felt that's where there was a comfortable environment. And for me personally, and I think James has got a different perspective to this, but it was for us to create that environment where people could have a cup of coffee, not necessarily to talk about work, but just go and talk to people. Yeah. Maybe talk business to business, maybe talk about life, family, how things are at home, but there's no concept to it. It was just a cup of coffee.
But it was brilliant. Yeah. I think at the height of one of them I went to, there was well over 100 people there.
Yeah.
And they were just literally having a conversation. And the other real powerful thing about it as well is the fact that introductions can be made there and then. Yeah. Which, like you say, people just rely on emails and LinkedIn and stuff, and that's probably a hangover from post-COVID, I guess, at the end of the day. The other thing I know you've had some success in, and we were actually bizarrely at an event here yesterday, weren't we, over at the Wing, but again, talking about that kind of collaboration, the networks, and grants. You've been successful with some of the grant applications out there as well. And it's something that TC Group have actually, we're partnering now with a Growth Hub actually, to work more holistically with them. But it still strikes me that people have got a real hang up about grants. But you've bearing in mind it's gone to a new unit, what's your experience of it, and recommendations, and who you would go to if you needed some support as well? Yeah,
so for me it was always cash is king. If you're going to invest, you genuinely have to invest your own money. I'm sort of one of those ones that I only borrowed money once, and that was at the very beginning of the business. We never borrowed a penny, and we've done 4 expansions. But it wasn't talking to like yourself and a few others in the room going, well, you do realise you pay tax, and a lot of it, that you are entitled to some of that money back. So I think you actually introduced us to Ruth back in the day, and she's been fantastic, who's of the South Midlands Growth Hub, and they're fantastic. Like, we've invested twice through 2 grants. One was quite a smaller one a few years ago on a fairly critical piece of equipment, and then the largest one we've recently done to get us into this other building. And that was 50-50 match, so that was a nice saving for us. For a lot of our equipment that we put into that building, it helped us pay some of the deposits on it. Yeah. And I think in the future we're definitely going to look into it.
No, I know again from conversations we've had as well is that, I'm going to say it sounds like a bit of a sales pitch now, but the power of the sort of like our team at TC Group is that we've been working very holistically with you. So not only do the property guys work with you in regards to actually helping you you'd found it, but the whole sort of negotiations that sat around that. Yeah. You've now invested a significant amount of money in that new unit, and they're now helping you now around some of the allowances and stuff. And I think, the thing that gets me with you is that a lot of business owners can learn from that sort of like, you're a sponge. You're prepared to take those ideas on board and sit around and have a conversation. And, that is also, when you get in a room of people, you're very honest about it. And I think this whole thing around relationships, whatever they may be, whether they be personal, business, whatever the case, is about people being prepared to sit and be challenged. And we've had some very challenging conversations over time, but also with the knowledge that through that kind of network that we've got, that between us, we've got the contacts out at the end of the day. And I know also that regards to the meetings you've had with the TC team, you're very honest and open feedback. And I think that's the power of a relationship, isn't it? And I know that's important to you.
Yeah. Look, F1 teams come to us for solutions, but they want to get as much done under one roof as possible. So when we became a single source solution, they go, right, actually, we can move 50% of our business back to them because actually they can just do everything. They haven't got to go and buy multitude of bits from all over. We do that all for them. We take away so many of the headaches. Why have I moved to TC Group? You take away so many of my headaches as a business owner because you're under one roof. But the trouble is, when I have accountants or an R&D specialist or a law firm that's going to target this and this and this, I have to now be juggling all 5 or 6 of them to support me. Now I've got TC, got incredible people under one roof that can give me one solution, and that's helped me get my business stabilised, push it through growth and get it ready. But I've no longer got any headaches. Because not only do you support me, you will support my whole team.
Okay, the killer question. Looking back and reflecting on those 9 years, is there one particular standout, both, I guess, positive and negative, that if you were sitting there reflecting on it, that you'd sort of like say, yeah, that was a huge learn, both from a positive and a negative?
So the negative, and we've discussed this, and I think you steered me through it, was the aspect of shareholders agreements when you start a business up. That was a rocky road for us. But equally, I can't take it with fully negative, because equally, without that individual and those people, I wouldn't be where I sat.
100%. Yeah.
So that was a huge learning curve for everybody involved, and we got through it and got to the other side, and everybody was sort of happy. So that was a huge learning curve, and that was naivety of being a young business owner and not having all the answers. I think the huge positive is taking a business from 0 to 9 years in, growing the team, supplying 6 F1 teams. I feel that we're the best in the UK at what we do. We have the best team around us, the culture, and we've created we're sat in Silverstone right now. Cars are driving around, the sun's on our faces. I could probably just see my building from here. Right now, life's pretty good. As you drive in on the left up to Silverstone Circuit, the first building you see is Silverstone Composites.
I know, and again, that was, we were here for the weekend. It was lovely, but it is very. It must be. I know you've told me this before, but that dream of you having your own, working in Formula One or being something to do with Formula, but to have your own company now. Yeah. When you drive up that main road into Silverstone, the first building on your left-hand side, Silverstone Composites. I can't even begin to imagine what that feels like. It must be incredibly satisfying. And again, we haven't touched on it, but I know your dad was there and he worked with the World Rally Championships and all sorts of bits and pieces, didn't he? So
yeah, and it all goes back to, though, like, to be able to sit in this very moment and discuss it. Is the fact is, I haven't done it alone. Like, through family, through friends, through connections, through the network, through people like yourself, like Simon Arkin at EMW, Pim at Silverstone Technology Cluster, like all these guys that have been along that journey, Chris Bream at Longhurst, all these people that have got me through milestones. I've got to this point not on my own. I've done it through the fact that I've had an incredible bunch of people around me and friends, and anybody thinks they can do it alone, it's going to be hard. You've got to have a good team, and that's why we've got TC, that's why Silverstone Composites is good at what we do, and that's why I am where I am now.
Listen, busy man, taking up quite a bit of your time, but like I say, considering what the weather was even like yesterday when we were here, I think we lucked out, to say the least. We're probably lucky we haven't got the LMP cars here tearing around today, because that would have been a bit more difficult than just having those guys in the background with the noise. But listen, it's been a pleasure to work with you over the 5 or 6 years that I've known you. I know you're going to do great things, and that's not just for you. The thing that I think I've taken away from knowing you is that it is about, you're only going to get to where you want to be with the people that you surround yourself with the investment that you make into the young talent that can come through. Yeah. And that is evident when we go to your unit. So look, thanks for today. It's great to catch up, and yeah, I'll see you again soon.
Yeah, Steve, appreciate it.
Pleasure, mate.
All the best.
See you soon. Cheers.